I wonder if you've come across the gnomes of Zurich. I remember coming across this phrase years ago when I was at school, and I thought this was a sort of cuckoo clock thing. I thought this was a sort of Pinocchio reference, but it isn't. It's a reference to a jibe made by either Harold Wilson or George Brown in 1964, and it was specifically directed against the Swiss bankers who they believed were responsible for a currency crisis hurting the British pound. And they believe this was simply caused by the manipulation of the Swiss bankers, a disparaging term, the gnomes of Zurich. And I think it's a delightful idea. It's got sort of Wagnerian overtone to it. I think of Albrecht hoarding gold, but in Liz Truss's piece, article, essay, rant this morning on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, the 4,000 word diatribe. She doesn't talk of the gnomes of Zurich. She replaces that with a left-wing conspiracy, the left-wing economists. But she means the same thing. In her case, I think she's talking about the OBR, the IMF, and the bond markets. I know it's absurd. It's their fault, not mine. So she's thwarted, in fact, by the market. She's thwarted by the very thing in which she claims to put her trust. It's like blaming the electorate when she fails to get elected at the next election. I hope she doesn't stand at the next election, but I do trust that the electorate will deliver the appropriate result should she be arrogant enough to stand. So she was thwarted not by, I think, the left wing, but by the simple issue of trying to impose a tax-cutting budget based on vague promises about public finances. Vague promises. And then she says in her article that she wasn't warned about LDIs. Well, she's the Prime Minister. You know, she can't complain about this. She's supposed to take advice. But this is a person who demonstrably does not take advice. She doesn't read her briefing papers. She expects summaries. So she can't complain when she's not told about something. The liability-driven investments, the LDIs. But I don't think, I've been thinking about this, I don't think it is just the LDIs that caused the crisis in the market during her tenure. Indeed, it could be said that the crisis Liz generated probably caused the LDI problem, the LDI wobble, which in turn forced the intervention of the Bank of England to stabilise the market, to the cavalry coming to her rescue. The real problem was the surge in gilt yields because the bond market panicked, and it panicked because it thought the government had gone mad. It thought Liz Truss was simply bonkers. Now, it wasn't the only one who thought Liz Truss was bonkers. Sergei Lavrov said it earlier. He said she was mad. She was mad. Absolutely. So if he could see it, why couldn't we? Why couldn't the Conservative Party that voted for it see it? And she's gone mad, and she's manipulating Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package with gay abandon. Truss, in this article, Truss seems to shrug, metaphorically, about the LDI problem. But she was warned. She was warned this would happen by Rishi Sunak, by none other than Rishi Sunak, at the beginning of the prime ministerial election campaign that should never be allowed to happen. We wasted so much time. We generated so much tension that alone contributed to the problem. That self-indulgent, introspective, navel-gazing sanctioned by the 1922 committee. All of these people should be excoriated for wasting time, for focusing attention away from the problems that were growing. We had just come out of the pandemic. We had just come out of Brexit. We needed time to convalesce, to recuperate from serious surgery. And instead, we were thrown into a dalliance, a joust between two minor boffins, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. And it boiled down to borrowing £72 billion without proper paperwork on a whim. It boiled down to a loss of confidence by the market, a market that simply didn't trust no matter what she claimed. How could you trust when all that was a slogan and there was no paperwork to back it up? And absurd hand gestures. It was like trusting a windmill, a broken windmill. Now, the problem is that Sunak has been in office for 100 days, just 100 days, and he hasn't solved the problem that Truss created. Why? Because he's inherited some of her madmen and women to keep the right wing happy. The spanner, the collective spanner in the Rishi works. Now, would he have got on any better if he hadn't got Braverman and Raab and Zahawi and these various twits? Probably not. Probably not, but it's been made significantly worse and significantly more focused by having these rats in a sinking ship gnawing at his calves. So is Liz Truss now presenting herself as the fairy godmother, returning to make it all right, or is she malevolently crowing like Caraboss in her chariot, gloating anew at the mess she's left behind? I don't know. I think there's so much that needs to be unpicked about this. But more than that, there needs so much to be unpicked about the fact that she's even gone into print. Why would anyone print this mad rubbish from Liz Truss? But having printed it, I think it is our duty to analyse not only the print, but why the Telegraph would actually want to do it. No matter, we have to look at it. We have to look almost at every single word, because this is a person who aims to come back. And maybe we were distracted. Maybe we thought the problem was the return of Boris. No. The problem is the return of Truss. In some mad way, Truss is on the horizon, inching back into our lives with her hands flapping around Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package. No! Go back, Liz. Go back into the hole into which you crawled after you resigned. Go back.